You know the saying, they've been around forever? Well, in the Eternals case, that's actually true. I mean, if the name wasn't a dead giveaway that the MCU's new super team has been around the block a few times, then I don't know what is. And being that old, you would imagine the group has seen some pretty amazing things over the years. What huge past events could we see finally told in the upcoming Eternals movie? The beginnings of Asgard, the fall of the Celestials, the first Black Panther? Let's discuss right now. Before Asgard became the stomping ground for a giant one-eyebrowed fire demon, it looked like a pretty cool place. It was like a Shakespearean theme park in space. But of course, Asgard is no more. As much as the Flat Earthers would have loved to be on Asgard, they'll never get the chance because it's all basically space dust now. So with the once great civilization now regulated to New Asgard in Norway, it wouldn't necessarily be the worst thing to revisit Asgard's beginnings. How did this great realm get started? Well, that's what the Eternals could find out. The benefit of following immortal beings is that you can see the beginnings of just about anything you can imagine. Did a group of future Asgardians migrate to the realm? Were they always there? This is the type of history lesson I wouldn't fall asleep in. At the very beginning of Black Panther, we get a story from Eric Killmonger's father detailing just how Wakanda became so advanced. He explains how millions of years ago, a meteorite made of vibranium hit Africa and affected the plant life around the area. Then when, as he calls it, the age of man arrived, 5 tribes settled around the vibranium-rich land and called it Wakanda. We got all this info told to us in a beautiful opening animation scene, but if Wakanda's origins are not told in the upcoming Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever, or even the Wakanda television show, then why not explore those beginnings in the Eternals movie? Maybe the Eternals are out there, cruising along in their giant square or whatever, and they see the meteor heading toward Earth. Curious about it, they monitor the area until humans start developing Wakanda around it. They don't want to interfere, but maybe this whole situation can be a learning experience for the Eternals in regards to how humans handle immense power. At first, the 5 tribes are in constant war with each other, and the Eternals write humanity off as being senseless. But then they see the one shaman warrior who received a vision from the panther god Bast rise up, receive immense power thanks to the heart-shaped herb, and immediately try for peace. Not only would it give us a peek at the very first Black Panther, but it would also be extremely fitting that Eternals base their entire perspective of humans off of Wakanda's actions. Wakanda's role in the world has always been a secret, but Eternals can reveal how much influence they had on a galactic stage. There's 2 Odins in the MCU. One's familiar to us, one not so much. We know Odin as the stubborn yet fair king who likes to hang out on grassy cliffs and give warm, sage advice before dissolving into a peaceful abyss. But that's not what Odin was like in the past. Thor Ragnarok revealed that not only did Odin have a firstborn daughter, but the two spent their time together conquering the 9 realms in a blaze of war and presumably rock and roll blared all the time. Man, I hope Odin kind of embraced that darker aesthetic and was dressed like Hela. Wouldn't that be neat to see? But of course, things didn't stay like that. Odin realized, hey, am I the bad guy here? And decided to become a much more peaceful ruler. He promised no more bad things. Well, he locked his daughter away for like 5,000 years and timed her release on his own death, but after that little detail, then he became a true good guy. That's all what was told to us, but now is the perfect time to actually see it. The Eternals being around forever means they must have been aware of Odin's conquest. A fun way to add the Eternals in that situation would be for them to be the ones to convince Odin to have his change of heart. To paraphrase the Mad Titan a bit, seeing a young Thanos in the Eternals seems almost inevitable, doesn't it? I mean, if you aren't aware, the people on Titan have a very close personal history with the Eternals. In the comics, the Eternals created the colony on Titan to begin with because they wanted to make life and all that jazz. But of course, things ended how they did. I think seeing a young Thanos and even the destruction of Titan would actually be the most important past event to see on this list, because not only would it be great to witness and see Thanos morph into the Mad Titan burdened by glorious purpose, but also it would be the event most likely to affect the Eternals. There has to be a reason why the Eternals have stayed in the shadows for so long, especially given all the world-ending events that seem to happen quite frequently. The MCU can connect events here. If they say that having a colony the Eternals created themselves only for that Titan colony to destroy itself and fail caused them to make a vow never to interfere with the natural order of the universe, then that would be okay in my book. Plus, I'd want to see a teenage Thanos because I wonder what puberty was like for him. Imagine that when you pass away, your head is used to house an entire mining colony where aliens can come to drink, gamble, and harvest your precious brain tissue and spinal fluid. And to top it all off, they name your head Knowhere. You probably had a cool name like Robilicus or Doxica or Kyle, but then your name is no more and you're officially Knowhere. Yeah, you probably wouldn't like that, would you? Guardians of the Galaxy first showed us Knowhere, but we were too distracted by the wacky hijinks of the group to really contemplate just how the celestial head came to be there. Maybe the Eternals can answer that. Because look, I don't claim to be an expert in celestial anatomy, but I would bet the head just didn't fall off from natural causes. Man, how much would that suck if it was actually normal for a celestial's head to pop off after a certain age? What if that happened to humans? Anyway, putting the Eternals in a situation to see what happened to the Celestial would be epic, because I want to know what's powerful enough to decapitate a Celestial. Oh, you know what? Maybe I don't want to know. Okay, so the mutants are definitely coming sooner rather than later. Now the question on everyone's mind is how exactly will the MCU bring the X-Men into the fold? Will they exist in a separate universe or will they be here the whole time? Now, because the Eternals are doing the "we've been here in the shadows the whole time" shtick, it would be weird if the mutants also did this, but hey, you never know, right? And there's certainly value in placing them on Earth for all this time, mainly seeing the origins of mutants. Yes, we all know that X-Men Apocalypse starring Ivan Ooze was a major disappointment, but what if that got a bit of a do-over? What if we could see the rise of an uber villain like Apocalypse before he's locked away for centuries? Maybe the Eternals could even be the ones to help throw away the key. That way, you can establish in the Eternals movie that mutants exist and therefore lay the groundwork for the eventual X-Men solo film. That's the beauty of the MCU. Everyone wants a special piece of that super soldier serum. It's all the rage for good guys and bad guys alike. Everyone wants some sort of replication of the very unique circumstances that turned Steve Rogers from a scrawny kid that Flash Thompson could probably beat up to Captain Frickin' America, but it never works out quite right. Any attempt to duplicate the serum mostly led to disaster both in the MCU and in the comics. I mean, without those failed attempts, we wouldn't have Hulk or Wolverine right now, which is pretty nuts. Anyways, in Captain America: The First Avenger, we meet Dr. Erskine when he had already put his finishing touches on the serum. But those type of chemical cocktails take a long time to perfect. It's not like the good doctor woke up one day, mixed together sugar, spice, and everything nice along with some chemical X and made the serum. It must have been an extremely elaborate process. And given the recent resurgence of super soldiers in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it would be fascinating if the Eternals could show us how the serum came to be. Imagine the Eternals monitoring the Doctor's progress and possibly even helping a bit if he ever got stuck. That would be a way to establish the Eternals as these all-knowing individuals who helped shape all of human history in small ways. Not every event has to be in the very distant past in order to have an impact. Something that would be cool is if we could use the Eternals to look into the last few years to see the Fall of Xandar. Behind the scenes, we know that Avengers Infinity War was going to start with a big attack on Xandar when Thanos got the Power Stone, but it was cut for pacing issues and time. Well, the Eternals could show that battle again. Imagine for a second that the Eternals monitor and witness Thanos' destruction of the city. Not only would it provide some closure, but also maybe tease the arrival of Nova. Anyways, picture the Eternals having a discussion about interfering to help, but then decide against it. But that leads to Thanos getting all the Infinity Stones and wiping out half the galaxy. So maybe after sitting by during the Xandar attack, that's what inspires them to step out of the shadows. It's no secret that Malekith was a lame villain with a super boring backstory. Classic end-of-the-galaxy domination stuff. But what if there was a way to redeem Malekith? It's certainly not the most crazy idea. The Eternals would be around during Malekith's epic war with King Bor and provide us a first-hand account of just how close Malekith came to destroying everything. It would make him look much cooler, don't you think? Malekith was one of the MCU's true misfires in the villains department, so if you have the opportunity to fix it by giving the character more depth and menace, I say you do it. The Ancient One is, well, ancient. She's just around 500 years old, and while that's a few lifetimes for us mere mortals, 500 years probably goes by in the blink of an eye for the Eternals, which means they were around for the Ancient One's beginnings. I mean, at that point, they'd probably laugh at the Ancient One's name, because it's not very ancient to them. How awesome would a younger Ancient One, who perhaps has a real name and is just starting out with her powers, be? Maybe the Eternals could even pass on some wisdom or guidance to the Ancient One that the Ancient One would use while teaching people like Doctor Strange later on. What if she only became a great teacher because of the Eternals? Hey, you never know. Tilda Swinton is a lot of fun in the role, and I don't think we've seen the last of her in the MCU. And I think out of any property, the Eternals is the best bet to see her past and origins. I mean, at this point, is it too much to ask for the Eternals to swing by whatever happened in Budapest between Black Widow and Hawkeye? Come on, I'm sure they watched every other major event in the MCU, so why not this one? Hey, a guy can dream, right?